The biggest concern in Brazil now is what happens to this presidential election in October. To discuss this further, I'm now joined by Juan Carlos Hidalgo. He is a policy analyst on Latin America at the Center for Global Liberty and Prosperity at the Cato Institute. I saw one headline that said, Brazil's presidential race is in stunned disarray. Is that a good way to describe it, would you say?
Indeed, nobody knows what's going to happen. People expected that even though Campos was trailing both President Rousseff and Aécio Neves, the center-right candidate, at 10% of the intention of the voting, he was going to grow in the polls, and that both Aécio Neves and Eduardo Campos were going to force a runoff between Neves and Rousseff, and that there was a high likelihood that there might be an arrangement between Neves and Campos for the runoff, joint forces, a coalition that will present a serious threat to Dilma. Now nobody knows. Marina is a very popular politician. She has a national name recognition. She was in the ballot 4 years ago, and she came third with 20% of the vote. You can say that she's actually more popular than Eduardo Campos, but she appeals to a different electorate. Whereas Eduardo Campos had a more business-friendly record, he had a more free market approach to problems. Marina Silva has a record as an environmentalist, and she might appeal to the youth, to the young voters who took to the streets last year during the protests. So right now we don't know yet what's going to happen, and we might end up with a runoff, but not between Aécio Neves and Dilma, but between Dilma and Marina Silva.
Well, that's the interesting point. David Fleischer, who's a political scientist in Brazil, said that Campos's death was bad news for Brazil and very bad news for Dilma. Kind of alluding to what you were saying, how do the political candidates view this? I know there's the mourning going on now. Most people don't want to think about this, but it's obviously in the back of their minds.
Indeed, there is a lot of mourning and commotion. Certainly, both Aécio and Eduardo Campos were looking for the same vote, pro-business-minded people who want growth for Brazil, want a most business-friendly approach to Brazil's economic problems. And now that is going to change. Probably Aécio Neves is going to benefit a little bit during the first round because he's going to receive some of the votes that maybe Campos was going to receive. But in the long run, this might be for the benefit of Dilma because actually even the Brazilian stock market plunged after the news of Campos because they perceive that maybe there is a likelihood that she might end up winning in first round. But it all depends on how popular the candidacy of Marina Silva is going to be this time around. She had a surge of support in the last days of the last presidential race, and it remains to be seen whether that can be replicated this time around.
Give us a sense of what campaigns are like in Brazil, because here in the United States, they can get very ugly, a lot of mudslinging. I don't know if that's the case in Brazil. And my question would be, if it is, does the tone change and shift because of an untimely death like this?
Yeah, well, definitely there's going to be a change in the tone. In the last election, there was some sliding, definitely, that happens all over. Brazil is still a very young democracy, only 30 years since the end of dictatorship. And it all depends on how much time candidates have on TV. In that regard, President Dilma Rousseff has an advantage because she enjoys the support of a coalition, and she's going to be receiving more time in TV, and that's going to benefit her. But definitely the mood of Brazilians is sour. They were defeated in the World Cup pretty badly, and the economy is not doing well. And now with the death of Campos, you add another factor to what was already a very volatile electoral process.
It's a wild card, there's no doubt about it.
Indeed.
Yeah, Juan, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it.